inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, cause real women don't bitch, no. Real women don't, 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 real women don't bitch.
Hey, thank you for joining me on the Real Women Don't Bitch podcast. This is your proud host, August Crenshaw, aka Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. I am the #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs because building mental muscle is necessary in order to implement successful business strategies. This show has been created for the woman who is not excuse-driven and needs help building a profitable business. I will be interviewing women from various fields who are willing to break the silence on struggles that specifically affect female entrepreneurs. Welcome to a show where I and guest speakers from time to time share our methods that help us beast our business no matter what is going on in our lives. Whether you are an online or brick and mortar business owner, this show is for you. We will hit every angle, personal, professional, and spiritual. Why? Because on any given day, you get hit with shit from a scenario involving one, more, or perhaps all of the above. It all impacts you and your mindset towards your business. I have made it my personal mission to provide a space where we dive deep into the BS we face on a day-to-day basis. Hey, what's up? Let's get ready to rumble!
I see that.
Talking about relationships, dropping them like a bad habit. I have had my share of experiences with people in my personal life and in entrepreneurship. And so I am, what some of you all call yourselves, an expert at cutting people off. And I hear people say that. I hear people say that all the time. But then I look at the same people who say that, they always got those special people and be with these labels that they won't cut off. And so I think I'm just built from a different type of cloth. And I think that my upbringing has a lot to do with it. But nevertheless, I have some really firm standards about who can be in my circle. And so I want to also just point out another thing as we get ready to engage in this conversation. There's a difference in having a tribe and having a circle, ladies. And I want to make that clear distinction. And as a coach who has friended several of her clients, that is something that I have to truly pay attention to as well. Because you guys, some of you get these tribes, you get these people that follow you, and your business becomes what I call in the Business Mastery Summit, your love container. And so because you got people patting you on your back, loving the mess out of you, you feel loved and you think they on your team, and they may be loving you a bit, but that doesn't mean that they belong in your inner circle. And so I'm not going to give any examples just yet, but I can give two very distinct examples about someone in my tribe that I really, really love, that has went through the thick of relationships with me, and somebody who was in my tribe who, when the shit hit the fan, and a lot of it was their fault, they went AWOL on me, and so we're not connected at all. So let's, I brought it up. And I don't know what kind of things that everybody else is thinking about, but come on, Pika, what you thinking? What you thinking, Peekaboo?
Oh man, I like cutting people off. Actually, it's like cutting dead weight off. I like it a lot, and a lot of times I will leave people like in other countries, and as you very well know, so as much as I've moved around, it was just easier. I didn't have to keep up with them. But I also know that sometimes that's not the best way to maintain a good relationship. So for me, you get a couple chances, and then I will ghost. It will be like I never existed. You will never find me again. You will never find, like that, yeah.
And I feel you. And so the question is, but when is it difficult? Because even me, as good as I am at saying, okay, what, boo-boo, I don't do you anymore. There are those exceptions to the rule, and there's those people that have those strongholds that we still keep around us, or they're not around that often, but when they do come around, we kind of yield and we bend, we lose our identity, we do what they want us to do more than what we want to do. What can we talk about? You know, some of those weaknesses or the vulnerabilities of when that doesn't necessarily happen. You don't leave them in a
Absolutely. I have my weak moments too with certain people. There are certain there are family members that I can't cut off. I can't afford to cut off. And mostly I turn into a different person. The person I turn into, I don't like very much. I'm not very nice. I'm not very cordial or courteous. I'm just like blunt and just rash, and they can tell that I don't want to be around them, so they kind of like, whatever, okay, fine, you have an attitude, I'll talk to you later. So there are those people as well. But for the most part, I feel like if I turn into something else, that's like a signal to me that I can't be around those people. But I can't afford to cut them off completely either. I was always told that, you know, if you cut people off, it's because you're afraid of them leaving you first. And yeah, maybe in some instances, but a lot of times it's just because I can't deal with the amount of roller coaster emotions, the amount of drama that comes around with those kinds of people in my life. Those kinds of people tend to suck the energy out of me, and I can't function afterwards. It's like my whole day is consumed by your nonsense, and I can't do that.
Now, when you say you can't afford to, in what capacity? What do you mean you can't afford to? Like literally?
As it is, like I feel everything very, very deeply, right? And as a single mom, I got to make sure that my energy is right for my daughter. Otherwise, I tend to lash out at her. I mean, she's the closest thing around me, right? And if I can't lash out at the other person, trying to like set them straight, or maybe they're just not getting it. Maybe they're one of those people that's too short for them and just kind of miss them completely. I can't afford for that energy to rub off on me, for me to put on the next person. That's not cool.
No, I thought you said that sometimes you can't afford to cut people off.
I can't afford to cut people off, as in like I can't, like the way I want to cut them off is in like, you no longer exist in my world. I have a couple of cousins that I don't really talk to that often. I used to check on them because I was worried about them, that, you know, they had some stuff going on, but I don't reach out anymore because the few times that I have, I get comments like, oh, you don't know how to talk to people. Oh, you be asking too many questions. Not really.
Okay.
For me, you know me, it's all emotion, right? If I see that you are not normal, if I see your face change, if I saw your face change, if the way you talk to me is different, I'm going to be like, you okay? And you have a yes or no answer. And if you say no, okay, I'll ask you more. And if you say yeah, I'll be like, all right, cool. I'll keep on going. But it's my responsibility once I notice to ask. That's all.
Okay. I sense a tad bit of resistance, and I don't want to take it further. You know.
No, go ahead.
No, because I think maybe sometimes I like to tell people to like go back and listen to yourself, or when people write things, I say go back and read it, because you're sending me mixed signals. You know what I'm saying? You know, with, you know, you just said that some people you can't afford to cut them off, but then you gave a very distinct example of somebody that I would cut off, someone who does not respect my character, who does not respect me as a person, who there isn't healthy community or good communication with. And so evidently there's something deeper, that's a deeper tire. There's something going on that, you know, and it's cool. I'm not trying to pull that out from discussion. I just want to go ahead and move.
That's cool. But yes, it is a mixed signal. Yes, I would like to cut them off, but I can't afford to, unfortunately, because I have to see them over and over again.
Okay. All right. And so, and it's for everybody, everything is different. You know, I'm the kind of person I can live in the same city as you and still not be around you. But, you know, so we brought that up. Let's look at some scenarios, though. Let's look at some scenarios. I'm going to share some scenarios that have resulted in either keeping people on the team with me or cutting them off. And let's just see what kind of, you know, mindset people have about the decisions that I've made. Okay. So for instance, I've cut my family off, and somebody might say, well, August, that's like going really, really extreme. Anybody that knows me knows that when my grandmother passed, and most of my social media friends, you know that I did not go to St. Louis to attend her funeral, because I did not want my last memories of my grandmother to be tainted by the BS that I was going to experience with my family. When I left St. Louis, they know who I was. They know who I am. I was raised by my grandma, so my aunts and all those people, you know what I'm saying, they know me, but they know of me. They know August 2014 and prior. And even before then, they don't necessarily know me because they really weren't engaged in my life. So for instance, when I was at a very rough place, way before I even left St. Louis, for most of you guys know, I was in a marriage where my husband was emotionally, spiritually abusive. He also thought that we was going to try to be banging each other. It was like, no, that's not the way that it should function. And so I remember the first time we got into a tussle. He liked to wrestle a lot. It wasn't like Tina Turner, slap you or punch you in the face. That doesn't minimize it, though, and it doesn't mean he never put his hands on me at all. But our first encounter was a wrestling match, and the entire living room and dining room was destroyed. It was in the middle of the night. And I was extremely frantic. I had my daughter and his daughter, which was from South Carolina, happened to be at the house. And I told my daughter, because his mother and his grandmother literally live about a 2-minute walk around the corner. I was like, hurry up, grab Jacima, run around her. I just didn't want her in the house. And that wasn't necessarily the wisest decision, because it's like 10-something, 11-something at night, and we're going at it, and I'm sending my child with a baby frantically up the street. And maybe about 2 or 3 months later, one of my aunts said something about, such and such told me that she saw KK running with a baby in the middle of the night. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Fast forward, when I finally left him and I moved into my own house, my father finally came and visited me one time, literally in my new home. And he was like, I ain't really like the dude that you was married to, so I ain't never have no intention of coming over to your house. Now, so with me, my aunts, my father, I don't communicate with them. Please understand, I'm not mad at them. But what I do know is that at the end of the day, y'all talk shit about me. You knew what was going on, but nobody checked on me. Matter of fact, I had this one cousin, Derek, who just got a smart ass mouth. And he was like, you used to always talk shit about how you said when you got married, you weren't going to never get a divorce. So you didn't want your relationships to look like the families. And then, and look at you. I said, oh, so that's what y'all saying about me, when I'm not around. This is stuff. Now, he was living in Ohio. So if he was in Ohio going to school and with his girlfriend telling me what the family was saying about me, then that let me know that they not only did they not have any respect for me, but they just didn't care about me. And so I'm not your concern. I've never been in an abusive relationship. I've always been strong-willed, very independent, very resourceful, extremely positive, involved in a lot of activities. So those people, just because blood ties are there, for me, I'm not saying that I'm going to just cut everybody off, even though you are blood, but I can't get my mind to say I'm going to keep you in my mind because you're related to me, because it is. So that's one example. That's personal. But then professional. I told you guys about the individual. So I had an individual that was at my summit. And this individual that was in my summit was also in my group. I did this huge workshop. And in this workshop, one of my speakers actually completed the work. And I told them, whoever finished the work, that I would give them a coaching session, but they just had to have it there in the group. It was very effective because she busted out in tears. Now, she busted out in tears. She got her breakthrough. And I told everybody, hey, make sure you share the experience. Once the experience was over with, a day or two later, or maybe even a week later, she went and shared a post on social media that said, I attended this event, this woman did this great stuff, and this is what you do to achieve the same results. Step 1, do. Step 2, do. Step 3, do. I was like, damn, did this bitch just release all of my proprietary information? Now I immediately checked it. And I told her that she needed to take it down. And when I had a phone call with her, her excuse was, oh my God, I thought you wanted us to share. Now, listen to me. See, this is the stuff that y'all don't do. What you do is you pick up the phone, you call your girlfriend Pika. And you be like, girl, Pika, you ain't gonna believe what she did. And I don't believe this shit. She been in corporate America for 10 years. She don't know what proprietary information is, and have the conversation with you. I didn't do that. I told her, I said, hey, I'm having a really difficult time understanding why you did what you did. And you telling me that you didn't recognize that it was a mistake. How did you not know when you've worked for major corporations and you've done stuff for them? So I know that you should know. That's number one. So don't play the ignorant role with me. Number two, I actually spent like the first 5 to 10 minutes breaking down to them how I came up with my process. I gave a very detailed description of how I created it and where it came from. Now, as a person that's teaching other women how to make their own content and to do content marketing, and I know if anybody shared even half of what she did, she'd be somewhere in the bathroom crying her little Becky Ball eyes out. So you can't tell me that you didn't know that it was my system because I explained it. But then when I went to go check my reports for people that opted out of the summit to see what the primary, reasons for unsubscribe was, she opted in for every fucking freebie that I created and then unsubscribed from every freebie right after as uninterested. Can we say thief? Can we say no integrity? Can we say block a bitch? And you see what I'm saying? And so you have no respect for me. You have no respect for my character. You have no respect for who I am. And people do shady shit like this in families and in business all the time. And this is why we're talking about cutting people off. So those are two different examples.
So I want to go back to your personal example because I understand where you're coming from. And for me, it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. I can't cut them off completely, but it's out of sight. I'm not going to give you any more information. I'm not going to give you any more attention. I'm not going to seek you out if I can help it. So that's the personal side of that. Outside of that, if I don't need you in my life, it's like fingernails. I will cut you off. I don't need any kind of connection to any of those people. A lot of times I will go through and I'll follow people and I'll, comment and try and make a connection. But a lot of times if you fill up my feed with a bunch of nonsense and it's not the kind of stuff I want to be seeing, I'm going to block you or unfollow you, whatever the case may be, because I don't need I have plenty of distractions. I don't need that.
Okay. So,
why?
Because what I'm listening to, and it's okay because it's different strokes for different folks, and I'm not trying to push you anywhere, but I'm just saying what I feel like I'm hearing. What I feel like I'm hearing, and the difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying is a passive versus an active cutoff. Yep. So what I don't do is for me is I don't leave you with any room for doubt that you can never come back and fuck with me. I really just don't. I don't leave you with any gray areas. Now, I don't have to leave you in the negative space, so I don't have to do it in a negative spirit. But when you cross me, it's understood. Now, with the social media thing, people talk about they don't like seeing the shit that they see on their feeds. Yeah, you just unfollow and you unblock people. I totally 100% get that. I don't want negativity or anything like that in my space. But this for me, because I gave the distinction between tribes versus your inner circle, is like, who will you allow to be that person in your ear, and how close will you allow them to be? Because I'll have women that'll come to me, and because we be, like I said, my clients, we can have a regular conversation, and out of nowhere, they'll just kind of start talking to me, and they'll be like, yeah, you know what? My one sister, girl, cousin, auntie, sister, mama, daddy, daughter, whoever, doesn't appreciate me, takes me for granted, is always trying to get my services for free, does X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be sitting there thinking to myself, because I don't always say anything to them because I don't feel like turning it into no life coaching session. So why in the hell haven't you policed that thing or cut it off? And so for me, just to make sure that there's a clear distinction, that number one, before any cutting off has been occurred in my life, number one, my values were in place. What was important to me? So I need you guys to understand, once again, this is August. When I married my husband, I literally did not have a single family member there. There were only lifelong friends and very close clients who had been with me for a significant duration of my time frame as a cosmetologist. That was it. Even my poor, rest her soul, grandmother, because of some stuff that was going on with her daughters, and instead of being neutral, taking sides, I didn't invite her either. And I know at the end of the day it hurt her feelings, but when we sat down and talked, and I said, listen to me, Granny, if I did if Angie married Beverly or did this, you would say, oh, but you got to understand. If I do the same thing that they did, you will give me a hard time. Or if I tell you that stranger A, B, and C did this to me, you would be like, oh, no, they didn't. But if I tell you that it really wasn't a stranger, it was one of your 3 daughters, then you want me to pray and forgive. I say, you switch your value system. See, I don't honor blood. I honor truth, because blood is real fucking tricky, okay? So I honor truth. And I literally told my grandmother, I said, I can't trust my feelings around you because I love you so much, but you hurt me and you betray me. And so we had a very in-depth conversation. And I explained to my grandmother, for the safety and the sanity of my mind and my spirit, I can only be around you in limited conditions unless you can promise me that you would either, number one, remain neutral or true or honor justice and integrity. And it was this is a conversation that none of my aunts know that I have with her, but my grandmother actually, when we ran through some scenarios, I was like, Granny, I'm not making this up. I gave her more than 5 scenarios. I gave her snippets and said, you remember this? Bam, remember that? Remember that? I said, well, now what did you say? What did you say? What did you do? Well, now if somebody else did that to me, and to really kind of bring this to a head, it's like my baby daddies. When I'm going after them for child support, their fathers are, you don't understand. I tell you, my oldest daughter, her grandfather, Paul, he do it all the time. He wants to jump to the defense when I talk about his son not paying for child support. But like I told him, but if I was your daughter, he would be a no good Negro, non-child support paying bastard. People switch their belief systems. I'm very raw. I'm very real. I'm very authentic. So when I hear people switch, and you switch the way that you play when you're around different people, that is a reason why I cut people off, because for me, I can't trust you. So number one, my value system is intact. Number two, when warranted and when okay, because some people have done some really heinous things that I'm like, there's no need for a conversation, but I have a conversation with people before I make that judgment to cut people off. So I'm not just saying, oh, somebody pissed you off, woo, because I have had people do some really ignorant things to me. And when they come back, they say, oh, damn, this is why I did this. This is why I was feeling that way. And I'll be like, well, shit, we all can, get into that slump. And if they keep it real, we've been able to maintain. And also understand this is the last thing I say, and I'll pass it back to you. I fuck up shit with people too, right? And for those of you who listened to my podcast episode that was called Forgiveness May Be Killing Your Business, I laid it out on the carpet about something that somebody did to me where I did not speak to them. I got in my feelings and responded to them in a certain way, made up my own narrative. And when my conscience really got fried, I reached out to that person and in full disclosure, honor, and integrity said, this is what pissed me off. This is why I was mad. This is what was unfair. I should have did this. I never even gave you the time for the conversation. So I don't just make up shit and have this high ass expectation for other people. My code of honor and my value system, that's what I operate off of, even for myself. And so my question is, for the people that have an issue with cutting people off, do you really have a value system? What's your code of honor for you personally? Because if you don't do that, you can't do the other parts.
And I hear you. I like that a lot. And I wish I could do that in all areas of my life. And there was a season where I was in your face and actually very aggressive, and I could just cut people off. But after I came out to my mom, and certain things happen, you know exactly what I'm talking about, I realized that I couldn't always do that and be respected. So for the way my culture operates, I kind of need to take a back seat to that. I kind of need to be passive. So in that case, if I don't fight and tell you what's going on, if I don't come back to you when we have like an altercation or something, you're not important enough to me to actually do anything about it. I will passively drop you. You will not know until later. And that's just the way it is. Honestly speaking, August, out of everybody that I spend a lot of time with, you're probably the only person that knows that much about me outside of my brother. And you've met my brother. So that's it. That's my circle. Until other people, earn the right to hear more of my story, you get bits and pieces. I'm not going to lie to you about who I am and what I'm doing, but I'm not going to call you when I'm upset. That's not the kind of relationship we have. You specifically, August, yes. My brother, absolutely, because I know both of you will be able to tell me if I'm tripping or not. I know both of you understand where I'm coming from. You understand my story and where I'm standing at the moment and what I'm trying to accomplish. But the rest of y'all can go hang, and I don't have to tell you about it either.
Now see, there goes one of those little bitty pieces. Remember I said there was some resistance earlier?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a legit one. And we might have to have that one right there would require probably a podcast episode all by itself, because culturally it's a very distinct difference. Y'all, for those of y'all that haven't caught on yet, she's in Singapore, we in the United States, and so the roles of the sexes and all of that, it's a completely different atmosphere. And so
Deep South, Far East Side.
so we're gonna leave that part right there. But like you said, so with you, instead of kicking up against something, you have to pull back and just, avoid, ignore, and walk away from. But you did say something, I love it when people say things because it triggers me to make me think of something. I know one of the issues with a lot of people and why they can't cut people off is because when you think about cutting people off, number one, you think of it from a state of aggression. That's number one. Number two, because in the past you may have done it in, a little niggified way, you're afraid of being that person. And so back in the day, for those of you that know this part of my story too, when I was younger, my little brother was dating this little chick. I did not like her. And I told him, I was like, I don't like her. I said, but if that's your girl and that's who you want to be with, I'll at least respect her. But I'm telling you, you need to watch her. In his mind, I shouldn't have even, I was just talking about being cordial. I didn't mean I was going to try to be a friend and go to the club with her, but he was like, you don't like her, you shouldn't say nothing at all. So of course he said what he had to say to her, and she got to run in her mouth. Make a long story short, my mama had one of them old school locks where you had to use the key to lock the door. And one day they was at my mama's house, and when they got ready to get up and leave, I stood up to leave too. He was here, she was in the back, and I got in between them, hurried up, put that key in the lock, and turn around, and then we commit. I mean, it's just, this is, y'all hearing another side of August Crenshaw. And so one of my brothers, because in the middle of fighting, one of my other brothers got the key, let him in. So me, my brother, and his girlfriend, and we're on the floor fighting each other. And we had once it was over with, the only thing that literally hit my conscience was I heard my mother scream my name. And it was like, oh, snap. And we broke up and we went our separate ways. But it was like, F you, don't say nothing else to me either. And, he ended up dying in a car accident, a few months afterwards, after we had been doing the silent treatment thing. And that was the first time I had a real confrontation with this whole thing of cutting people off and having an attitude. So I went and I did what most people do, is I reverted. I ain't gonna cut nobody off. I'm gonna try to protect all relationships, and I'm not gonna be so aggressive. And I kept a lot of unhealthy relationships in my life. I became so tolerant that I couldn't let people go. But what I had to realize was that, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with cutting people off. It's about the way that you do it. And I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a tangent. It's the same thing with your voice. Like most of the women that are in business that are connected to me have a very strong message, and a message that requires them to revolt somewhat against current systems. Most of the people that are around me are renegades. They're revolutionaries. Where we were bucking up against the status quo in life and healing and language and all of these finances, all of these different things. I got people that's standing up against, the norms in the church. And most of you at some point used to have a bad ass mouth, just like me. I used to call it verbal thrashing. And so what did I do? I reverted and did the exact opposite. I went from speaking my mind to being like, let me just be quiet because I don't want to say anything. God never wanted me to be quiet. He wanted me to govern my tongue accordingly. And so that's the question that, everybody that's listening has to ask themselves. Have you taken a back seat to dealing with conflict? Because that's what this is really all about. People not deal with conflict because of your past story, instead of you healing, learning better communication skills, and then moving forward and doing what you need to do.
And that's where I was talking about, like, I like the fact that you mentioned that, you know, sometimes this can be seen as an aggressive move or whatever, but I also know that there are some people that just don't get it. So you're going to have to beat your head against a wall several times a day for them to get the message. And even then, they're still going to take from you. So I'd rather just, you know, drop off the face of the earth. But I also understand that in some instances, I'm not dealing with the conflict at hand. And that's where I have to think about, well, is this relationship worth saving? Is the conflict that important to me that I need to save this relationship, or can I just walk away, wash my hands, let it burn?
We got a guest on here. I don't know if you want to say anything, and I know a lot of you are.
Come on.
Look, and it's one of them things. Hey, come in, hop in on the link. Do one of y'all need the link? I mean, you guys are just listening, and a steady amount of people, but you know it's quiet. You know,
somebody fan the flame, somebody.
But what did I say before we started this? I said before we start this is one of those sensitive conversations that people are going to get quiet on. And a lot of people are not going to open up and they're not going to say anything. But this is, I mean, honestly, some of you may be thinking, okay, well, August, but what about this? Now, let me explain something. If anybody has a question. When I speak, and it would take my clients to let you all understand this. When I speak, I know you might be like, I don't want to ask August a question because I'm not going to cut off my mom. I'm not cutting off my daughter. How the hell she do that to her grandma? No, listen. First of all, any of my clients will tell you, I will ask, what are your values? And then I'm going to ask you how you're making decisions based off of your beliefs. I'm not saying that you need to believe what I believe, but you're going to have to face your own code of ethics and your own moral code and your standards for yourself. So if we get into a conversation, if you decide to enter into a dialogue on this podcast, it's not going to be about me telling you what to do based on what I believe. You know, I remember I had this kind of conversation, you know, with the young lady that's very close to me. Her guy cheated on her. I tell you right now, cheating on me, look, as long as I've been with my husband, as much as I love my husband, cheat on me if you want to. That's grounds for immediate divorce. That's just how I feel. But I know plenty of people who work through divorce. And so this young lady came to me and she was like, oh my God, he did this and I lied and I found out he's still talking to these people, so on and so forth, and this chick, and you know, what should I do? I said, well, I don't know. What are your non-negotiables? What are your deal breakers? And you have to make the decision accordingly. So this is not about me imposing my belief systems, but if you really want to work through a mindset issue and you know that there's somebody that you need to get out of your life, if you want to have a coded conversation, raise your hand and we can do that. But I'm going to tell you this, you're going to have to learn how. So I'm still waiting to see. I'm going to give another scenario though. So there's this woman that I used to be connected to. And when I met her, she actually had launched her business. She was getting coaching. Now she had 20 plus years experience doing what she did. She had never did it for herself. But I'm one of those people, I say all the time, as a coach, I feel like I'm a talent scout. I see talent and I'm owning. And so when we work together in collaborations and stuff like that, I literally, off of belief and trust, knowing that she can execute and thoroughly help somebody, her pricing structure might have been a little bit off or whatever, but I was willing to open up doors and promote her and let it be known who she was, what she did, because I believed in what she did that much. And she could have been earning top dollars for what she did. But, you know, our relationship progressed. We more than a year outside of beyond from when our relationship began. And I noticed that, you know, I was wondering who the hell her coach was. And to be honest with you, I know she spent $20,000 on this person. I found out later. But I'm like, wait a minute. She had a coaching program. She's charging $250 a month. She's giving people one session a week. She was doing support, doing a bunch of stuff. And so we got on a phone call one day. And see, this is what happens when your friend is also a coach, which is why a lot of people, I don't let them be my friend, because every time I open up my mouth, you get a damn session. And that's just real talk. But I deliberately said to her, hey, girlfriend, we need to have a conversation. And so my methodologies, I took her through an entire walkthrough and I said, come on, I need you to change your mindset about your prices because I need you to see you building yourself a poorhouse. And by the time we got through breaking down, and not everything, but at least 80% of her expenses, she was down to $7.88 cents an hour without counting that lump sum of money that she had paid to whatever coach that she was working with. And I told her on that conversation, I said, I'm steady moving and progressing. I said, you do understand that you're widening the gap. You're bridging the gap, not between how much I love you, not between how much I respect you, not between how much I like you as a friend, but our business models are so far apart because you're not stepping into your power. You're going to end up making us have to separate. There's certain things that we're not going to be able to do. And I said, so sweetie, I had all of this conversation with you. So somebody can say I'm judgmental, but see, I don't just talk shit about people. The shit I say about you behind your back, believe me, if I ain't got to you yet, I'm coming to you to say it to your face with help. And I said, so number one, I need you to do two things: double your price and pull back on some of the stuff that you're doing. It took her about a month and a half to reach out to me, but she said that she did it. And I was like, well, hey, you know, you wrapped your mind around it and you did it. And so later on, we had another conversation, and she was talking about doing some type of collaboration with me or something like that. And I was like, you know what? You come up with the collaboration and then we can go from there. Because I'm always making up collaboration shit. My summits alone, there's some hell of a collaborations where people always want to do shit with me, but people don't always want to come up with no idea. So that's why it's a lot of people that have never worked with me. But when we got through, she was saying stuff just like with you. And my clients will tell you, they say shit sometimes. I got to keep on reminding them that when they say something, because I go on a tangent and start talking about that, I'm taking the subject matter. I'm taking the principles. I'm not talking about them per se, but I'm going to take whatever the hell they say. I'm making podcasts. I'm making blog. Well, I don't do blogs, but email,
same thing I do.
Facebook. I use the content when you say something that triggers a thought, and then I make something. And so I made an episode, and I was like, yeah, you know, people going to want to collaborate with you, but they're going to have to step up. And if they don't do this and they don't do that, you need to not work with these kind of people. So I talked about that separation. And her immediate response to me was, I heard that episode. Was it about me? And I was like, huh? She's like, yeah, you know, the podcast episode. I said, hold up. I said, in all honesty, I said, it was sparked because of our conversation, but it's not about you. Oh, well, I felt like it was about me. And so immediately I'm like, well, hold up. I said, wait a minute. So did you really do what you said that you did? Maybe you didn't, and that's why you still feel like that. I said, but the last time I checked, when you only had a fucking name, I made sure that I put you on my little map and let it be known who you are and that you're the expert in what you could do. I opened up my platforms, trusting and believing in your genius. I spent my time. I said, all that shit I talked about on the podcast, I had that same damn conversation with you almost 2 months ago. So you already know where I stand. I just told you if you come up with the thing that we can do it, but I'm not finna make it up. And so by the time she got through saying her little 2 cents, now you don't like, now let's get into the social petty Betty. Now you don't like my posts no more. You know, now you don't never be on none of my videos. You used to be on every last single one of them. You know, now you don't. So I said, oh, okay, I see you. You funny acting. And her whole clique dissolved with her. But that's cool, because I don't need y'all. Unfriend, unfollow, block, depending on what category they went into. But I mean, I'm just bringing up different scenarios because this is the petty shit we deal with. Everybody want to talk about 20K months and building businesses where you get paid and it's looking like that, but don't nobody really want to talk about the bullshit that you deal with relationships and collaborations and feeling funny and all of that stuff. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much of an expert somebody is, you still dealing with another human being. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it ain't always going to be rosy, but if I love you, then I'm going to do everything that I can to still preserve the quality of that. But listen to me, I'm not losing sleep over anybody, period. Because I know that at the end of the day, and this is another thing, in order for you to be able to stand with what I'm talking about, you have to know that at the end of the day, you stood up and you showed out. Take it all the way back to that ex-husband. You know, part of the reason why I stayed was because when he lashed out, I lashed out. And so I always had that guilt mechanism of, well, if I wouldn't have done this. And so
added to it, yeah.
What I had to do was say, but August, be in control, calm down. You know, a fruit of the spirit is control. When I was able to stay positive, stay focused, and stay in control, you know, a little something. I ain't anybody perfect, but you know what I'm saying? I didn't match his energy. I said, oh, wait a minute. And I'm still being a good wife, doing all of these things. I'm done. I can freely walk away. And so any relationship that I've ever been in, when I take the firm stance to walk away, one thing is for sure. I have always given more, done more, believed more, loved more, exhibited more patience, all of those things. You know, I want to, as a matter of fact, and I heard another, Dr. Frazier say this, that whenever he meets another entrepreneur, all he's trying to do is beat them giving. Beat them giving. And that's all I'm trying to do when I meet people. I want to beat you giving. I want to show you love. I want to beat you giving first. So if I know that I'm always on the side of giving you the best that I got to give, then at some point I got to say, oh, I'm not going to pour out my pearls before swine, whether that's personal or professional.
And as far as business is concerned, I think all y'all know, for those of you who do follow me, I love bringing as many people as I can along with me. If I think that you have something great to talk about, you've had a struggle, you've overcome something that, you know, you've really pushed through and got through the other side, I want to make sure people know that, because I think it's inspirational. I think that there are other people out there that need to hear that story. But I know that in my short career so far, that there have been many people that were happy to take, you know, let me take them along, but they didn't want to do the work, or they wanted to do side deals with people and cut me out, which is fine. I mean, if that's what you want to do it. But I'm not about to chase you. I'm not about to make sure that you're taken care of, because I got my own shit to take care of. So I will offer a couple times. I may try a couple times, but then after that, it's just like, well, you had it. I'm one of those people that if you tell me you want this and this is what you need to succeed, if I have it to give, I'll give it to you. And I know for a fact that if I give it to a fool, they'll lose it within like 5 minutes. Seriously. If you give a man, a fool and his money is soon parted. If I give you exactly what you're asking for, because you say you can't make it until you have this, this, and this, if I give you that and you screw up, then I can't do nothing else for you. So I did the best that I could. But I also know that if maybe I was a smoker at one point in my life, and maybe I don't want to smoke anymore because I've learned that it's not good for me. I know that I need to shed all my smoker friends for me to level up. I can't be around those same people and not want to smoke. Mm-hmm. So if I need to experience that separation because I want the glow up, I want to be better than I was before, yeah, I'm going to have to let some of you go. I will try and convert some of y'all if it's in your best interest. But if you're not listening to it, it's your free will. I can't force that. I can only control my thoughts and my actions. That's it.
Absolutely. And when you were talking from the business perspective, I remember I did a live video with a woman, and I said, "Ooh, I could really tell that we're beginning to not see eye to eye, and we're beginning to separate." Because, you know, when I first started my business, I need y'all to know, first of all, I am still a bit of a workaholic by choice, though.
A bit.
You know, when I'm inspired, I can't.
You enjoy it though.
I can't turn it off. And so different strokes for different folks. Some people got to turn it off. For me to get something done from start to finish, it turns me on. It lights me up. But there was a time when, you know, my message has, you know, for those of you that have been following me for the last 3 years, it's evolved. My message is supposed to evolve. Your message is supposed to evolve. You know, I remember before I give my example, going back to an interview I seen years ago with Nicki Minaj after she had been in the game for like 5 or 6 years. You know, one of the anchor man was like, well, you know, what do you have to say about your people that were, you know, saying that you're not the same Nicki? And she was like, but you really want me to be trying to sell records sounding like that woman? I mean, if Beyonce was still singing, say my name, I mean, would y'all really still be riding her train? See, she has grown with you all as an artist, and that's why you stay with them. Same thing with icons like Janet. You know what I'm saying? They grow, and there's evolution. You don't stay the same. You don't stay stagnant. You ain't playing no memorial potato salad for you. You know, Curtis, come on now. Y'all that listened to me yesterday, y'all know what the potato salad reference is for. But anyway, so it's the same thing even with business. In the beginning, most of the people that were around me, they were the people that I was like, look, you got to grind, you got to do what you got to do. And if you don't get no sleep, you know, you just don't get no damn sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because, and I was attracting people who were in predicaments just like me. You know, I had finally started making money in my business, but I was in dire straits trying to work off a bunch of debt, trying to finally get into black because, you know, me and the red was friends with the finances. You know, all I knew was push, because I had got pushed down by all of the gimmicks and the lies in social media. So I was pushing hard to get through all of the thick of the smoke and all of that craziness. But as I got wiser, then I started talking about having a serious work ethic, but being more strategic. And then as I got even wiser, I started talking about capitalizing and utilizing different things. And so my conversation has evolved. I didn't used to talk about money as much. Now I have had my segments where I've talked about money. I have debated and refuted tithing, a whole bunch of different topics, and talked about the true, essence of money and what God's intentions are. I would address those issues. But and Tiffany would appreciate this, but at that season in my life, I couldn't be focused on the money. I had to lock in my purpose for real, in order to give me the staying power so that I can be able to do what I got to do. I got the staying power. I got the strategy. I got the presence. I'm here. So now I talk about money a lot more. And so, somebody that is like, oh, if they still in that place of just push, is like, but you haven't evolved. Now you guys hear me saying more things about mentioning ads here and there, or you hear me saying more things about emergency funds or investing in stocks and stuff like that, because my mindset and what I'm doing in my life and my business has evolved and it's different. So if I'm still, and I hear like this woman we would have on a video, and she started saying stuff, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, damn, you still working like that? Who, you still thinking like that? Oh shit, you still selling shit that damn cheap? Nah, baby girl. And so it wasn't that wasn't a separation like I got to cut you off, but that was more so of a separation of, okay, you can't be in that inner circle. You could be in my tribe. You could listen to me. You could like what I'm saying, and you could want to be better, but you can't be in my inner circle. Because when I start talking about a 20K payday, you're going to start saying things like, yeah, but even if you don't get 20K, at least you did your best and you put something out there. I need motherfuckers around me that's going to be like, that's for real, August. So as long as you've been in the game, after all the stuff that you done did, you done did 20K. You do better than that. Them the kind of people that I need around me. So you could be around me and be in my tribe, but if what you're saying is not fortifying me, if it's not calling me out, if it's not making me embarrassed, making me feel a little stupid because I need to up my level, if you're not calling me out emotionally, spiritually, then you're losing. You're going to begin to wane on your ability to be in that immediate circle. And sometimes people have to be in categories, because maybe you can't be, you can't speak to me on a financial level, but maybe you could speak to me on a spiritual level. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you can't really speak to me on a spiritual level, but you can speak to me on business and strategy. But then you also have those individuals where they're pretty well rounded and they've been through the thick of where you're going. And so they can really speak to the meat of all of those things, where they may have a shining set of areas where they really, 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 really shine, because nobody's mastered it all. And so that's what this whole thing is about. Like, really, with the end is analyzing the people that are around you and knowing the difference between something as simple as associates or friends versus a tribe versus a circle, because everybody doesn't belong in every category. And I'm going to say this last thing because some information was given to me, and I went through something like this when I was a hairstylist. I had this one client who I found out someone saw her and was like, girl, your hair look good. Who did your hair? She didn't give him my number. And I told her, I said, oh, so I heard people be asking you about me doing your hair and you don't share. Let me find out that there's one more person that you have said no to and didn't give them my number because St. Louis is small. You better believe that I will never do your hair again. After that, do you want to know that on a regular basis, I got anywhere from 1 to 2 referrals about every other month from her because people were jocking her hair? I said, because at the end of the day, when you get a frog up your ass, if your job relocates you somewhere else, I'm not making your money or all of the people who could have been my potential clients because you didn't refer them. And some of y'all really don't want to own up to who you are. You really ain't looking at the fullness. See, I understand August. August is the kind of person where people truly either really love and run to my personality or they're intimidated by it. And so and a lot of people will run to it initially and really like it, but then after a while they get intimidated by it. So if you have an opportunity and a person says to you, is there another powerhouse sister that you would want to recommend? I know it's women out there that they will not recommend me because they're afraid that when I come, I'm going to show up and show out to such a degree that they think I'm going to take their shine. This happens. And so there's somebody that I know right now, and they're going to listen to the podcast, and they're going to be like, damn, am I the one talking about? Because you thought it? Heifer, yes, I'm talking about you. Somebody asked you to include another sister in a project with you, and you thought of me, but you didn't mention me because you didn't think that I was going to bring enough light to the table for all of us to shine. You thought I was going to outshine you. When I walk into the room, whatever's around me gets lit. And so y'all holding on to relationships with people for the sake of holding on to the relationships of people, and they gonna run off and leave your ass behind. You ain't gotta cut them off because they gonna do anything they can to get ahead and stay ahead of you. Whereas a person like me, every time I turn around, I'm trying to open up a door so people can run with me. And that's real. Which is why I can't take no ish. I do too much work and I work too hard to put other people on a pedestal who don't always show me that they truly honor that thing. And when you show me that you have no respect and no honor for it, I can accept the fact that that's your value system, but if it doesn't mesh with mine, I gotta let you go.
I like that. And I'm serious, like nobody chimed in anywhere? Nobody? Somebody?
You know what? Curtis came in. He came in at the end. Curtis, I don't know if you would want to come on here. He usually is just a listener. So he made the comment about me and a potato salad, but he said, yes, evolution is necessary on many different levels. He said, yes, it's difficult to work with people or clients who don't believe in their own vision or dreams. And then he said, yes, the haters do exist, and it's always a pleasure to see the sisters connect with each other in the right light. Absolutely. So yeah,
Tiffany was on here real quick, and she said, "Don't burn a bridge you may need to walk back across." And honestly, I understand and I appreciate how you feel about that. And I know a lot of people feel that way. But if I'm going to walk away from you, I don't want to walk back there, because if you've done that, whatever it is, to me one time, I don't want to take the chance. So for me, I will just ghost.
You know, that's an interesting comment. Seriously, I like that. That's an interesting comment, and I find people that's part of your fear. You know, don't burn a bridge that you may have to.
What if I need them again?
You pray, what if I need them again? And it makes me think about the story of The Dream Giver. If anybody's ever read it by Bruce Willis.
I remember that vaguely.
Yeah, and how when Ordinary needed to cross the water, you know, once he made it across, matter of fact, the bridge was destroyed before he even made it across the water. He had to get in a boat and figure out an alternative route to get to the other side. And I get the gist of what somebody's saying. See, the people that statement goes for are the people that I'm talking about did the shit that they did to me. That's burning a bridge, because you violated, disrespected, and tried to use a person who tried to build you up. But when I let somebody go, like I said, I outlove, I outgive, I outdo, I'm outpatient, all of those things, I'm never burning. Well, figuratively, I'm not saying, oh, let me burn this bridge with somebody, but excuse me, that bridge, I needed to be burned, because that's what's wrong with some of y'all, is that you won't burn the damn bridge. And so you keep taking your ass back to dysfunctional relationships because you hoping that these dysfunctional people will get their shit together and they will pull you up out of your ditch. See, when you come from an empowered perspective, when you know that you've grown, when you know that you've evolved, when you know you're becoming better, and you keep seeing people on dumb shit, any successful person, even Snoop with his high ass, will tell you that one of the reasons why a lot of people cannot make it is because they never want to build the gap. And wait a minute, my guest said they burned the bridge, not me. Yes. Wait a minute, hold up. What are the comments? Sometimes the bridge needs to be burnt. Everything must be pruned for growth. Amen. Exactly. And see what I'm saying? I love it when people make comments. Curtis, thank you for that comment. There's a scripture in the Bible, it's in John 15, where it says that if you abide in me and I abide in you, then it talks about, you know, this relationship between you and God. He says that if you produce good fruit, if you don't produce good fruit, you got to be cut off. He said, but if you do produce good fruit, you got to be pruned. And so
Yep.
either way it goes, whether you guys like it or not, whether it's for a positive or a negative reason, see, the code to success for entrepreneurship is all through the word of God. Sometimes, because you got to look at a person by the fruit they bear, they can tell you all day long, I'm an apple tree, I'm an apple tree. Hell, for them lemons, you sour, you lying. You got to recognize it for what it is. And some just don't bear no fruit at all. If any of you all saw my video years ago called A Dead Woman Walking, I talked about the analogy of a tree that was outside of my mother-in-law's house that looked like it was okay because it still had some leaves on it.
Mm-hmm.
And on the outside, it looked firm, but it was soft and it had to be cut down. And so I'm talking about how a lot of people, they look alive, but they really dead. So it was dying. It wasn't going to have any more vegetation pretty soon. But a lot of people look like they okay, but they not. And so if the fruit that you bear is off, then I'm not messing with you. But even in myself as a human being, as a person, whether that is my personality, my spirit, my mannerisms, or people, things have to continuously get pruned. If you've ever owned a garden, you've ever had a rose bush, then you already know that in order for the plants to come back more robust, you got to chop it down. You got to chop it down. And so people that have the fear of burning bridges, that's because you got something that you want to go back to. I never have a fear of burning any bridges because God willing, even if I am the person that's at fault, humility alone will save a lot of shit. Like I said, if you are willing to be humble, to own your shit, and to truly apologize, even somebody like me that's like, you know what, I ain't messing with you no more, will be like, damn. That's a hell of a revelation. I can't do nothing but respect you for that because I've been in that same place too. But how often do people do that? No, they usually want to stay in that I'm right. And when people are always right and they always want to buck up and can't never hear what you got to say to them, deuces. That's it. But that's my creed. That's my code. That ain't everybody else's, but you need to know what your creed is. And when you in this thing and you doing what you're doing to run your business, baby, all of that stuff will echo in your ear once it's time for you to move. Those voices of self-doubt that some of my clients have, some of my clients still talk about aunties, best friends, and mothers, and other people in their life that told them that they were stupid, they weren't going to be able to make it, they wouldn't do it. It's like, wait a minute, so now you're finna launch your product, and the first thing you're going to think about is something that, you know, your deceased auntie, cousin, brother, sister, ex-friend, person in another state said. So you better be really careful what you allowing to speak into your ears, because that is what's being transmuted into your mind. You don't speak like I'm on top of the world. You don't speak like you can see me doing life-changing things. You don't speak greatness into me. You're not helping to water the seeds that have already been planted. August says bye.
Man, I wish more people would chime in, because there's so much. This is not a couple questions and answers that we can cover this whole damn concept with. There's so many things to this. There's family members, there's friends, there's children, there's ex-husbands, there's business clients, colleagues. There are so many aspects to this, and I feel like it really does come down to what it's in Tamil you say gunam, it's your personality, your core values, who you are at your core. Yes, I would like to be aggressive. I can't afford to be aggressive because of my culture. I would like to be able to burn bridges everywhere I go, but because of who these people are and how they fit into my family, I can't afford to do that either. So unfortunately, I gotta, take my tongue, throw it over my shoulder, and keep on going. But I will avoid you as much as possible. I'm not gonna do anything like go out of my way and try and help you if you've showed me that you're not going to hear half of what I say anyway. You're not going to respect anything that I am anyway. I'm just going to let you be.
Well, there it is. Well, we ain't gonna hang on and try to make somebody say anything. For the people that did chime in. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Let me bring my girl on here. I didn't even see your hand was raised. Hold up. Come on. What you got to say before we get out?
Hey, this is Marcia. Well, I just heard Pika say again, she said in the beginning about the people in the family, you can't afford to cut them off. And I know for myself, mostly it's family that I'm having the issues that we're talking about. I don't have a lot of friends and things swirling around me. I get along with a lot of people, but there's really no inner circle. So This part is easy for me, but family is another thing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at myself and how over the years and the age that I am, have I dealt with situations like that. Because now, if someone wants to start some shit in the family, pretty much they're going to have a hard time drawing me in. They're my family, and I love them. But when I hear all their ranting and raving and whatever they're going through, I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with me. Really, they think it has something to do with me. But I've done enough soul searching and soul growing and looking at myself to know it has nothing to do with me. So I can hug them, give some loving, and step right on back when they go through all that stuff they keep going on and try to put my name in it. Put my name in it. That's your issue. It is not mine. So I can keep on moving and keep on going because I've learned to do that. I know who I am. I stand strong where I am, and you cannot pull me into it. Whenever that does happen, I can't say it never happens. That means it's time for me to check myself again. Not for me to check them or argue with them. I'm checking myself again. How did they draw me into that? I need some more work done because I can't fix them. I've been through a lot of years thinking about how to fix people. My husband, rest his soul, he was into fixing people. He's dead and gone and they still ain't fixed. He spent his whole life trying to help them fix them, family mostly. They're still not fixed now and they're still here. I'm not spending any time with that. So I say, if you continue to grow yourself and look at yourself, when that happens, you can be around those folks, but you have to look at them immediately and say, that's with them. That is not with me. And you don't get drawn into that. If you can offer them some advice, good. But they usually don't want it. At this point, you can ask me something. I'm going to let you rest with that yourself. Your answer will come to you, or you will just have enough rope where you hang yourself. I'm sorry, and I'll just, bow my head when that happens. But, you're not going to draw me into that. It takes your energy. It takes your time. It takes life out of you, actually. So it's not a light matter. I had to learn how to deal with that in myself. So that's what I have to say about that.
I appreciate that, Marcia. And there's something I tell a lot of people, and it usually makes them laugh, but not my monkeys, not my circus. And a lot of the people I have a problem with are my elders. And it's one of those things where, they've lived their life. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So you have to respect them and let them be who they are. You're not going to change. Yeah, I know I'm not going to change them, but that also means that I don't have to be around if I don't want to.
True indeed.
I don't want to see people suffer. I don't want to see people hurting for no reason. But if you don't even want to give me the time of day where I might be able to sit down and listen to you at least, well, oh well.
Yeah. Heart-centered entrepreneurs. I'm sorry. What were you?
Marcia?
No, I understand that too, but I was just thinking about some folks you have to continue to deal with. So just how do you help yourself in those situations?
Most of the time for me personally, it's I know who I am and I know what I'm trying to accomplish in this life. And as long as it isn't purposely stepping on anyone's toes, like I'm not hurting you on purpose, I'm just going to live my life over here. You live your life over there and we'll be okay. When we get together at family functions, we'll be like, hey, how are you? It's so good to see you. And I will carry on the rest of the day.
Keep in mind, you don't want anything they're doing to limit you. Like, I can't go over there.
Oh, no, I won't.
Right, please. If it's not,
very simply put.
Like that. You see? That's what I'm saying.
Baby.
Absolutely.
I got to read this comment from Curtis. It says, from the word family, we get the word familiar. The devil always uses family because it is familiar to us. The devil is not creative. And I will have to say, like I said before, for me, leaving the land of familiar was literally leaving behind my entire family. And that just doesn't, people can't understand that. But it's not out of, I got an aunt, her son stole $10,000 from my grandmother, knowing her mental state as well. And she wasn't as far gone as she was prior to her passing. But even if her mental state wasn't like that, but it just made it worse because he's taking advantage of her. And the mother knew. But my grandmother was like, don't say anything. I was like, all right. But I was finna they was finna bring old school August out. But at the end of the day, I can't do anything about that particular relative, those relatives. But what I won't do Because I ain't finna feast with you. I ain't finna be around you. Because if you'll do that to your mama, you have no regard for what you will do to me as a person. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people are missing out on. I'm not saying that, you know, you got to choose your friends because of who I am or who I'm not connected with and so on and so forth. But I'm going to tell you right now, just like this, as it pertains to business, because of what I have personally dealt with and doing collaborations where I've worked with 20, 30, 40 people at the same time, if I get wind of the fact that there's something off with you through one of the people that I trust, you have to take a step back. You have to prove that you are something other than what those people say. Because if somebody comes to me and say, yeah, you know, she was in this program with this other person and I saw her steal her products or services, why? But well, you all want you, my friend, cause who you? No, okay. Well, you know what I'm saying? If y'all not being of the same kind of, you know, speed and liking something different, ain't nobody that's a mature mind gonna tell you not to mess with that person. But when I run into people who violate specific principles, and you might didn't do it to me, but why the hell I'm gonna give you a chance to do it to me? So once again, we back to the whole thing of I'll cut you off. So they say, you know, drop them like a bad habit, but most of y'all ain't dropping your bad habits either, so y'all ain't dropping no people. So I believe that right there. This is a very interesting discussion. It went a lot of different ways, and I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of meat and are going to get a lot of meat. You too, sir. But we're going to go ahead and chime this out. We've been just a little bit over an hour. You know, it's been a pleasure to engage with all of you all. Pika's joining us.
Thank you, Marcia and Curtis.
Yes, for really, truly engaging.
Yeah.
All the way in Singapore. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's let this woman go to sleep.
This is why I'm in like a, yeah.
Yes. So mindset is key. Mindset is key. Any of you all have any issues with dealing with your mindset, head on over to the website, augustcrenshaw.com. Join Fits My Business, the group where we're not only talking about strategy and how to get your business out there, we deal with all of the mindset blocks, and we can take this conversation even further, help you understand how to shine, to stand up in your business and your authenticity, to keep on growing. As you can see, the personal aspects also affect the professional aspects of business. But in the meantime, between time, we out of y'all. Can we get a deuces?
Deuces.
Thank you for joining me today. Remember to cultivate a mindset that is biased towards taking action. No bitching, whining, or complaining. Here, our mantra is, real women don't bitch, we get shit done. See you next week as I continue to bring you what you need to keep your head in the game and beast your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Would you like a specific topic covered? Have a question you would like answered live? Then head on over to realwomendon'tbitchpodcast.com. Subscribe to my email list, hit me up, and I got you. Interested in being a guest speaker? You walk the walk? Then you can sign up on the website too. This is your #1 advanced mental conditioning specialist for entrepreneurs, Mrs. Raw, Real, and Relentless. Signing out. Deuces!
Inspire, empower, grab your girls and soar a little higher. Unlock the fire in you, 'cause real